The stars above the desert world of Vecron burned like cold, distant eyes. Dust blew across the cracked earth, whispering of war and silence. A large transport vehicle moved slowly through the wasteland, its engines humming with power. Two beings sat. One was Rin, a young Calvex warrior, tall and proud. Her armor was black and silver, and her sharp purple eyes watched everything. Her hands rested near the pulse blade on her hip. She was careful. She had been trained not to trust humans. Across from her sat the prisoner, a human male named Toma. His hands were bound with heavy energy cuffs. His dark clothes were torn, his lip cut, and dust covered his face. But he didn't seem afraid. He sat back, quiet, his green eyes scanning the room like he was reading every bolt. Wire and Shadow Rin didn't like it. "You don't speak much," she said, narrowing her eyes. Toma looked up. "Talking too much gets you in trouble," he replied calmly. Rin frowned. Most prisoners begged, cried, or cursed. This one was different. Even after being captured by a Calvex patrol, even after watching his small ship get destroyed, he remained calm. "Why did you come here?" asked. "I was just passing through," he said with a small shrug. "Lies. You attacked a Calvex patrol and disabled their ship alone? That's not passing through." Toma smiled slightly, but said nothing. Rin crossed her arms. She didn't trust that smile. She looked out the small window. The sky was turning red with sunset, and far in the distance, sharp mountains cut. Across the horizon like teeth, were headed to Outpost Threx, where Toma would be handed over to Commander Drowan. Humans were not allowed inside Calvex core space, and Toma would likely be executed to send a message. The transport jolted suddenly. Rin stood quickly, hand on her weapon.
"What was that?"
The pilot's voice came through the com.
"Small power issue. Might be the stabilizer coils."
"Give me a moment." Rin looked at Toma again. He was still sitting calmly. Too calmly. "You did something, didn't you?" He raised an eyebrow. "I've been sitting here, hands tied. What could I possibly do?" She stepped closer and checked. His cuffs still locked. But she noticed something strange. His boots were slightly opened at the heel. Not a mistake? A hidden tool? Suddenly the lights flickered. Transport jerked hard and the engine whined. Rin nearly fell. "System failure," the pilot shouted. "I'm losing control." The vehicle crashed into the sand, flipping once. Before landing on its side, dust filled the air. The metal creaked. Rin groaned and pushed herself up. Her shoulder hurt, but nothing was broken. She looked around. Toma was gone. She cursed and drew her blade. Outside, the red sky was darkening. Winds blew hard. Rin followed the tracks in the sand, moving fast. She found him near the edge of a rocky cliff, standing still. "You didn't run far," she said, aiming her weapon. Toma turned slowly. "Didn't need to. Just needed to stretch my legs." Rin didn't like the way he said it, like he was testing her. They fought. Rin moved like lightning, trained from childhood. Toma didn't match her speed, but he moved with clever steps, dodging at the last second, making her swing at air. He didn't hit her. He didn't try to win. He just moved, blocked, and let her get angry. She finally struck hard and knocked him down. The blade pressed against his neck. He looked up at her, breathing hard, still smiling. "You let me catch you?" she said quietly. "Maybe." "Why?" He said nothing. She bound his hands again and dragged him back to the transport. Where the pilot was still fixing the controls, she sat him down and stared at him in silence. "You had a chance to escape," she said. "Why didn't you?" "I wasn't escaping," he answered. "Then what were you doing?" He looked at her, eyes calm. "Testing something." Rin sat back, troubled. Most prisoners were easy to read. Toma was not. He didn't look like a soldier, but he acted like one. He didn't panic, he calculated. Every move had meaning. That night, after the vehicle was repaired, Rin sat awake while the pilot slept. She couldn't stop thinking. She quietly opened a panel near Toma's seat. Inside was the control circuit for the stabilizer coils. She froze. A wire was missing. Cut clean. She looked at him. He was pretending to sleep. Her pulse quickened. He disabled the vehicle while bound. How? And more importantly, why didn't he run? She didn't ask him, just watched him. Toma opened one eye and looked at her. "Good night, Rin," he said softly. She didn't answer. But for the first time in her life, a question entered her mind. What if humans weren't weak? What if they were just waiting? The next morning, the desert wind had softened. The sky was a pale orange, and the air carried a quiet hum. The transport was back on track, driving toward Outpost Threx. Inside the cabin, Rin sat opposite Toma again. She hadn't spoken much since the crash. Her mind kept going back to the missing wire. She hadn't told the pilot about it. She wasn't sure why. Toma sat peacefully, like he had all the time in the world. His hands were locked again, but Rin no longer believed that meant anything. "How far now?" he asked casually. 3 hours, Rin replied without looking at him. "Good. Still time?" "Time for what?" He only smiled. Rin hated that smile. It wasn't a prisoner's smile. It was a man with a plan. She stood up and walked over to the control panel to check the route logs. Everything looked normal. No signs of interference. Still, something felt wrong. She could feel it in her bones. Suddenly the lights flickered. Again, RIN turned sharply. "No," the engine stuttered. "Stabilizers offline," the pilot shouted from the front. "I don't know why this makes no sense." Rin rushed to the back. Toma was still sitting, or so she thought. In the blink of an eye he moved. He rolled to the side, twisted his arms through his legs, and kicked his cuffs against the corner of a crate. Sparks flew. The cuffs popped open. Arin drew her blade and rushed forward. But he was ready. He ducked her strike, grabbed a metal rod from the wall, and blocked her next attack. The blade hissed against the rod. For a moment, they stood close eye to eye. "Really not trying to hurt you," he said. "Then stop running." Toma pushed back and ran for the side hatch. The door slammed open, and he jumped out into the sand. Dorn cursed and followed. The chase began. The desert was flat, scattered with broken rocks and small dead trees. Rin moved fast, her boots pounding the ground. Toma wasn't as fast, but he knew how to use the terrain. He ducked behind a ridge, vanished into a crack between rocks, and circled back. Irin leaped from one boulder to the next, her blade glowing. She was trained for this. She wouldn't let him go. Toma tried to climb a slope, but slipped. RIN caught up and tackled him. They tumbled down the hill. Sand flew. He tried to grab her weapon. She kicked his hand away. He rolled, reached for a stick, blocked her next swing, then let go and raised his hands. "Enough," he said, breathing hard. "You win." Rin aimed the blade at his neck again. "This is the second time you let me catch you," she said. "Why?" He lay still, eyes on the sky. "You're smart, Rin. Think. Why would I keep getting caught on purpose?" She didn't answer. He smiled. "Because I needed to be here, in the Dominion. Close to the real fight." She stared at him. "What fight?" He looked at her carefully. "You'll find out soon. But if I told you now, you'd probably report me. I'm not ready to die yet." She cuffed him again and stood up. "You're already as good as dead. Maybe, but not today." They walked back to the transport. The pilot had restarted the systems. Stabilizers were working again, barely. Rin checked the panel again. Another wire was missing, a different one this time. She looked at Toma. "How do you do this while tied up?" He didn't answer. Later, while the pilot napped, Rin sat in silence, staring at the stars through a cracked screen. She felt uneasy. Then she heard something. A quiet sound. She turned fast. Toma was working on something. Very small. She leaned closer and saw tiny metal pieces in his hand. Wires. A power cell. A small disc. She had no idea where he got them. She pointed her blade. "What are you building?" He froze, then slowly looked up. "A message? To who?" He didn't speak. She walked forward and picked up the device. It looked like a hologram transmitter, small and homemade. She didn't know if it worked or what it sent, but it was already glowing. He had sent it. "You sent a signal?" He nodded. "Yes, I needed someone to know I'm still alive." "Whew." He met her eyes. "You'll find out when they arrive." That night, Rin locked him in a small holding cell inside the transport. She stared at the device for a long time. Her heart was heavy with questions. Who was this human really? Why was he sending signals from deep inside Calvec's space? And why did she feel like something big was about to begin? She held the transmitter in her hands and whispered, "What are you planning, Toma?" Inside the cell, Toma sat calmly, his eyes closed. Outside, the stars kept moving, silent and distant. But not for long. The metal gates of Outpost Threx groaned as they opened. Towers of black stone and steel rose high into the yellow sky. Armed Calvic soldiers lined the walls, their rifles held close, eyes watching everything. This was not a place for mercy. It was a place for silence, control, and fear. Rin stepped off the transport with Toma in chains beside her. 2 guards moved forward. One scanned Toma with a red beam, then nodded. "Welcome back, Enforcer Rin," one said. "Commander Drawn is waiting." Rin said nothing. Her eyes stayed on Toma. He walked calmly, almost like he belonged here. No fear. No worry. Just focus inside the base. The air was cold and heavy. The walls were filled with wires, screens, and blinking lights. They passed by training rooms, weapons labs, and prisoner cells. Toma looked at everything, quietly memorizing. Finally, they reached the command chamber. It was large, with a glass ceiling showing the stormy sky. In the center stood Commander Drawing Toll, sharp-jawed, his armor covered in metals. A single red eye glowed faintly. He turned as they entered. "So," Drawn said, stepping closer, "this is the human who destroyed Patrol Unit 7? "Yes, Commander," Rin replied. "He did it alone. And he allowed himself to be captured." Drawn raised an eyebrow. Aloud, "He escaped twice, but returned on purpose. I needed to be here." Drawn frowned. "You humans are always full of mystery and drama." You stepped close and grabbed Toma's chin, forcing his face up. "Let me be clear. I don't care who you are or what you're planning. You are in my outpost now. You'll die here, and your kind will learn not to come near our systems again." Toma smiled. "I'm sure they're watching." Drawn laughed. "Put him in Cell 7. We execute him tomorrow at first light." Rin paused. "I found this on him." She handed over the small transmitter Toma had built. Drayon took it and examined it. Homemade. Low signal strength. Pathetic. But it was already active, Rin added. The message is sent. Drayon crushed it in his hand and dropped the pieces. "Let them come. It won't matter." Toma's eyes narrowed. "It will." The guards pulled him away and marched him to Cell 7, deep underground. The door closed with a loud thud. Inside the dark room, Toma sat on the cold floor and breathed slowly. One step closer. Back in the control room, Rin couldn't rest. Something kept bothering her. Later that night, she accessed the outpost's signal logs. She searched for any trace of the message Toma had sent. To her surprise, there was a strange BLIP, a short, coded signal that bounced off an old satellite and then vanished. It didn't return. It didn't echo. It was like it knew exactly where to go. Arin leaned back in her chair. Thinking hard, she returned to Cell 7. Toma sat in the corner, eyes half closed. "Who did you message?" she asked. He opened his eyes. "People who still believe in something." "In what?" "In us. In humans." Rin folded her arms. "The war ended. Your side lost." Toma shook his head. "We didn't lose. We survived. And now we're returning." Rin felt a chill in her chest. "You planned to be here, didn't you? From the very beginning?" "Yes," Toma said simply. "I needed to be close to Ashvale." Rin's eyes widened. "That's classified." Toma's gaze sharpened. "Not to me." He stood up slowly. "You see, Rin? I know what Ashville really is. And I know what the Dominion plans to do with it." Her voice grew firm. "Stop speaking in riddles. Tell me the truth." Toma stared at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Ashvale isn't just a weapon. It's a power generator. One that feeds on living energy. Human energy." Rin looked confused. "That's not possible." Toma stepped closer to the cell bars. "You've seen the ships vanish. The colony's lost with no signal. You think they were destroyed by war? No, they were taken. Drained. Rin's voice dropped. How do you know this? Because my sister was on one of those colonies. That name sister struck something inside Rin. She looked at him again, this time not as a prisoner, but as a person. A brother. She's still alive, he said quietly. I can feel it. Rin said nothing. Her mind raced. She had been told humans were weak, dangerous, wild, but Toma was calm, smart, and steady.
He wasn't here to destroy.
He was here to
Save someone. And now, she wasn't sure who the real enemy was anymore. The next morning, the arena was being prepared. A large circle of stone surrounded by walls and cameras. Calvec citizens from the city nearby were being invited to watch the execution of the human who dared to step into their space. Commander Drayon stood at the top level, watching with a proud smile. In cell 7, Toma sat with his head down. Rin entered. Silently, I brought you something, she said. He looked up. She tossed a small folded piece of paper to him. What is it? Map of the outpost. Secret tunnels, guard schedules, security zones. Toma looked at her, surprised. Helping me? She didn't answer right away, and she said, I don't know what I believe anymore. But if what you said is true, I can't stand by and do nothing. Toma gave a small nod. Thank you. Rin looked at him for a moment longer. Then she said quietly, Be ready. You may not die tomorrow after all. And with that, she turned and left. Toma unfolded the map. His eyes scanned every detail. The message had been sent. The truth had been spoken. Now it was time to act. The night before the execution, Outpost Threx was silent. Most of the soldiers had gone to rest, and the main control center was running on low security. A few guards remained on patrol, unaware of the storm slowly building from within. Toma sat quietly in his cell, staring at the paper map Rin had given him. He had memorized every hallway, every door, every sensor point. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Suddenly, the door opened. Rin stepped in, holding a small metal cup. Water, she said simply, passing it through the bars. Toma accepted. But he didn't drink. Why are you helping me, Rin? Really? She leaned against the wall, her face unreadable, because I don't like lies. And everything I've been told about humans feels wrong now, she paused. You're not like how they described. You're not wild or violent. I'm just trying to get my sister back, he said softly. Rin looked at him. Tell me everything. Toma nodded. It started years ago, he began. My family lived on a small colony near the edge of Calvec space. We were peaceful, farming people. We had no weapons, no reason for trouble. One night, ships came, not fighters' research vessels. Said they were here to offer help, trade, medicine. But they lied. Toma's voice dropped. His hands curled into fists. They took some of our people, those with special health conditions or unusual energy readings. They said it was for medical study. One of them was my younger sister. She was just a child. Rin's eyes lowered. What happened then? Toma looked away. We never saw them again. 2 days later, the colony went dark. No signals, no broadcasts. When Earth Command tried to send a rescue team, they found nothing. No people, no bodies. Just silence. He erased everything. He paused. That was when I knew. The Calvic's dominion had a secret. Something powerful.
Something they
Didn't want anyone to find, Rin asked quietly. That something? Is Asheville? Toma nodded. Asheville isn't just a machine. It's a system designed to drain life force energy from living beings and turn it into pure fuel. That's why they took colonies. That's why my sister was taken. He looked at Rin. I tracked the signals from the research ships. They all pointed toward this region. Toward Threx. Toward Asheville. Rin didn't speak. Her heart was heavy. Everything she knew, everything she believed in was now in question. How did you survive? She finally asked. Toma gave a small, sad smile. I didn't fight with weapons. I fought with plans. I joined a human resistance group. Learned to break systems, reroute signals, disable ships. I became what they feared, a quiet ghost inside. They're machines. I got captured on purpose. I let them bring me here. I wanted to see Ashvale myself, Rin whispered. And your sister. You think she's still alive? I feel it, he said. Hey, don't kill useful test subjects. She's out there, somewhere underground. Silence filled the room. Finally, Rin said, tomorrow, during the execution, there will be a moment. I'll create a distraction. Use the map. Head to the lower labs. That's where they hide their secrets. Toma nodded. I'll find her. Next morning, the sky above Outpost Threx turned gray. Thick clouds moved fast, as if something in the air was shifting. The arena was ready. Kalvik citizens stood behind force barriers, waiting to witness the humans' final moments. Cameras hovered above, broadcasting the scene to every screen in the city. Commander Drayon stood high on the platform, his armor gleaming, his face hard. Toma was brought out, his hands bound again, though not as tightly as before. Rin walked beside him, holding the ceremonial blade. She whispered without turning her head, "Be ready." Toma gave a single nod. They reached the center of the arena. The crowd fell silent. Commander Drawn raised his voice. This human broke our laws, entered our lands, and dared to challenge the power of the Kalvik's dominion. Today, we remind the galaxy who holds true strength. He looked down at Rin. Do it. She stepped forward. Toma knelt calmly in the sand. The wind blew gently around him. He looked up at Rin, eyes steady. She raised the blade. Any last words? She asked loudly. Toma smiled. Yeah, he said. You're holding it wrong. In that moment, everything changed. Rin twisted the blade sharply and struck the ground instead of him. The sudden blast of sand blinded the nearest guards. At the same time, Toma moved. He broke free using a hidden wire in his sleeve, grabbed the blade, and ran straight for the eastern gate. Alarms rang across the arena. Commander Drayon shouted, "Stop him!" But it was too late. Rin stepped in the path of the nearest soldier, blocking his shot. Toma reached the edge of the platform and leapt off. Landing hard, rolling, and running toward the hidden tunnel Rin had marked on the map inside the base. Chaos broke out. Drayon turned to Rin with fury in his eyes. You traitor. Rin didn't run. She faced him. I saw the truth. A guard surrounded her. Drayon shouted, "Lock her away. Now." But Rin smiled as she was dragged off. The real fight had just begun. Underground. Toma moved quickly through dark tunnels. The map in his mind guided him. Past the old storage rooms. Past the power chamber. Down into the deep labs. He reached a door marked restricted. Level 5 access only. He hacked the panel with a tool hidden in his boot. The door opened. Inside were long rows of chambers, each holding a sleeping person. Humans. Toma moved fast, checking each one. And then he found her. In the last pod, marked Subject 17, was a young girl with brown hair, floating in sleep, connected to wires and lights. Toma placed his hand on the glass. "Lena," he whispered. "I found you." He started breaking the locks above. The outpost was in chaos. Below, a brother had come home, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The red lights inside Outpost Threx flashed like a warning heartbeat. Sirens echoed through the steel walls. Guards ran in all directions, shouting orders. Something had gone wrong, badly wrong, but Toma didn't stop. He stood in front of the glass pod, staring at the girl inside. Lena, his younger sister. Her eyes were closed, her skin pale, but her chest rose and fell gently. She was still alive. Toma touched the glass. "I'm here now." He checked the panel beside the pod. It was locked with a Kalvik security code, but the system was old. He pulled out the tool he had made using small wires and metal from the transport vehicle. With steady hands, he connected it to the control port and began working. The code cracked open in seconds. The glass lid of the pod lifted with a hiss. Cool mist floated into the air. Lena's eyes fluttered. Toma, she whispered weakly. Toma smiled, his eyes full of emotion. Yes, it's me. I came to get you out. She blinked slowly, confused. Where am I? No time to explain now. Just know you're safe. I'll get you home. He carefully disconnected the wires from her body. She winced, but didn't cry. She was stronger than he remembered. Suddenly, the door behind them opened. 2 Calvex guards entered. Weapons raised, Toma moved fast. He grabbed a heavy wrench from the wall and threw it at the nearest guard, knocking the blaster from his hand. He ducked behind a console and tackled the second guard. A quick struggle followed. Toma took a hit to the shoulder but didn't stop. He grabbed the first guards. Weapon and fired twice, stunning both of them. Lena stared at him, wide-eyed. You fight now? Toma grinned. Only when it matters. He helped her to her feet. Can you walk? She nodded slowly. I think so. Toma took her arm and guided her out of the lab, as the base was falling apart. Fire alarms rang doors, locked and unlocked at random, and smoke filled the hallways. Toma checked the map in his mind. There was one safe path left, the maintenance tunnel near the power grid. He turned that way, helping Lena walk faster. Meanwhile, Rin sat in a small holding room, her hands locked behind her back. 2 guards stood outside the door. Her face was bruised, but her spirit wasn't broken. She heard the alarms. She knew what that meant. Toma made it. A small smile formed on her lips. Then, footsteps. The door opened. Commander Dran entered, anger burning in his eyes. You betrayed your people for a human, he growled. Rin looked up calmly. I followed. The truth. You followed a lie. He wasn't lying. You were. About Ashvale. About the missing colonies. Drayon stepped forward. You don't know the cost of peace. Sometimes power demands sacrifice. Rin shook her head. You don't want peace. You want control. Drayon drew a weapon from his belt. You're no longer one of us, and you don't deserve to live. Before he could raise it, Rin acted. She kicked the table hard, knocking him off balance. Using her feet, she hooked the leg of a stool and flipped it toward the guards. It hit the wall with a loud crash. The guards rushed in, distracted. Rin slammed into one of them, head first, then rolled to the floor. In the confusion, she grabbed a blade from the second guard's belt and sliced her cuffs free. Drayon roared in fury. You'll regret this. But Rin didn't stay to fight. She ran. She had to find Toma and finish what they started. Toma and you. Lena reached the power grid. Loud humming sound filled the room. Energy pulsed through glowing pipes. The tunnel they needed to escape was behind a heavy blast door. Toma scanned the lock. Can you open it? Lena asked softly. Working on it, Toma muttered. He connected his tool again. The lock was tougher than the others. Suddenly, another door opened. Drayon walked in. He held a plasma blade in one hand, his eyes wild with anger. Behind him, Rin. Followed bruised, but holding a stolen blaster. She looked at Toma and nodded. I'm here. Drayon laughed bitterly. Both of you. Standing against me, you think you're heroes? Tomas stood in front of Lena, weapon raised. No. Just family. Drayon pointed his blade. Any last words, human? Tomas smiled. Yeah, you're still holding it wrong. Rin fired her blaster. Dran dodged and charged forward. A fight broke out. Sparks flew as blade met metal. Rin blocked his swings while Toma guided Lena away from the fight, but Drain was strong, trained, dangerous. He struck. Rin's weapon out of her hands and knocked her to the ground. Toma grabbed a loose pipe and ran at. The commander turned, and swung. Toma ducked and hit him in the side. Drain staggered, Rin recovered, rolled forward, and used the move Toma had taught her back in the desert. She grabbed the blade from Dran's hand and flipped it, not with force, with precision. One strike across his chest. Dran fell. Toma looked at Rin, breathing hard. Nice move. You're right, she said. I was holding it wrong. With the commander down, they opened the blast door and entered the tunnel. It led out of the base and into the rocky fields beyond. Toma helped Lena walk. Rin covered them from behind as they stepped into the open air. The sky above them shimmered. Human ships were arriving fast and silent. The signal Toma had sent had been heard. They were no longer alone. The real fight was just beginning. The sky above Outpost Threx was alive with movement. Sleek human ships, long thought lost to time and war, appeared like shadows against the clouds. Their engines glowed softly, and their weapons were ready. The signal that Toma had sent in, encrypted call for help, had reached every human colony hidden in the stars. RIN stood beside Toma and Lena on the rocky plain just outside the base. Round them, small groups of humans and even some alien allies gathered, armed and ready. They had come to fight back, to end the Dominion's rule. Toma looked up at the approaching fleet. His heart beat fast, but steady. "It's time," he said. RIN nodded, tightening the straps of her armor. "What's the plan?" "We hit the core facility first," Toma explained. "HFY's power source is there. If we destroy it, we cut off the Dominion's greatest weapon." Lena looked at him with growing strength. "And my rescue?" "We free everyone inside," Toma promised. "No one gets left behind." The group moved quickly, using the cover of the rocky hills. Calvec soldiers on patrol were caught by surprise. Shots rang out. Blaster fire lit the dusk. RIN fought with skill, her pulse blade cutting through enemies while protecting Lena and others. Toma used his knowledge of the base's systems to hack doors and disable alarms. The resistance pushed forward. Deeper into the heart of the outpost, suddenly, an alarm screamed louder than before. Reinforcements were coming. From the shadows emerged Commander Drain, still alive, his armor damaged, but his anger stronger than ever. In his hand was the glowing plasma version of the execution blade. "You think this ends here?" he shouted. "You will all die." Rin stepped forward. Today, Toma held Lena close behind him. "We finished this." The final battle began. Drain lunged at Rin with the plasma blade. Sparks flew as metal met energy. Rin dodged and parried, moving with grace and speed. She had learned from Toma, from years of training and from the fire inside her. Toma fought beside her, using a mix of weapons and clever tactics. He moved like a shadow, striking weak points and protecting the injured. But Drayon was relentless. His attacks were fierce and powerful. He aimed to break their spirit. The fight moved through the halls of the base past power conduits. Control rooms and glass windows looking out into the stormy sky. RIN saw an opening. With a quick spin, she disarmed Drone, sending the plasma blade skidding across the floor. But he was not done. Drayon charged with a heavy punch. Rin barely blocked it, stumbling backward. Toma grabbed a nearby pipe and swung it with all his might. Hitting Dran's side, the commander fell to his knees. Rin stood over him, breathing hard. "This is the end," she said. Dran looked up, eyes burning with hatred. "You may have won today," he hissed, "but the Dominion will rise again." Rin looked at Toma and Lena. "We will be ready." With Drain defeated, the group moved to the core chamber of Ashvale. Inside, they saw rows of pods, just like the one holding Lena. More prisoners, humans, and allies were trapped, their energy slowly draining into the massive machine at the center. Toma began working quickly, cutting wires and overriding controls. The machine groaned and shook. Lena helped the others awake, whispering comfort. The power core began to overload. Toma shouted, "We have to get out now." They ran through the crumbling base as explosions rocked the walls. Outside, the human fleet engaged the Dominion's remaining forces. Fighters soared through the sky in a dazzling display of strength and courage. Rin looked up, feeling hope for the first time in years. Together, humans and allies stood tall. Together, they would reclaim their future. The dust settled slowly over the battlefield as the sun began to rise. The sky was painted with soft shades of pink and orange, casting light on the ruins of Outpost Threx. Where once stood a symbol of fear and control, Now there was silence. And Hope, Toma, Rin, and Lena stood together, watching the ships prepare to leave. The prisoners they had freed were gathering nearby, tired but alive. Toma smiled, feeling the weight of the journey finally ease from his shoulders. Lena was beside him, steady and strong. She no longer looked like the frightened child in the pod. She was free. Aaron adjusted her armor and looked at the horizon. This is just the beginning. Toma nodded. The Dominion is broken here, but their reach is vast. We must warn others. We must be ready. Around them, humans and alien allies began to plan the rebuilding of colonies, the rescue of more prisoners, and the defense of their homes. A messenger approached with news. The fleet has received signals from other colonies. They are rallying. To our cause? Rin turned to Toma. They heard your message. Yes, he said softly. We are not alone. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A new ship appeared in the sky, larger and more powerful than any before. It hovered silently, its design sleek and sharp. A voice came from the ship's loudspeakers. Calm, but with authority. This is Admiral Kalen. Of the Calvex Dominion, the rebellion has caused much damage, but it ends today. Surrender now, and mercy will be shown. Toma stepped forward. We will never surrender. Rin tightened her grip on her blade. We fight for freedom, Lena. Looked up, hope shining in her eyes. For all who were taken, for all who still suffer. The new battle was coming. But this time, they were ready. Days passed. The fleet prepared for the next fight. Leaders from humans and allies worked together, sharing knowledge and strategies. Trust grew where once there had been fear. Toma and Dazij. Rin trained the freed prisoners, teaching them how to defend themselves. Lena helped care for the wounded, becoming a symbol of strength and healing. One night, as the stars shone bright, Toma stood with Rin on a hill overlooking the camp. You think we can win? Rin asked quietly. Toma looked up at the sky, then back at her. We already have, in many ways. No matter what happens, we will keep fighting, because that is what it means to be human. Rin smiled softly. And what does it mean to be Calvex?
Calvex.
Find courage in the darkness, to choose hope over fear, to stand beside those who need you. They stood together, ready for whatever the future held. The dawn of a new era had begun, and this time, the galaxy would hear their story.